Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavad-gita as it is, chapter 4, text 1, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, founder Acharya of ISKCON. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavan Aham Avyayam Vivasvan Manave Praha Manur Ikshva Kave Bravit. Lord Krishna is giving the history of Bhagavad-gita here. Actually, the Bhagavad-gita is timeless, because the knowledge here, it is not subject to change according to time, place and circumstance. Sometimes people say that, well, this spiritual knowledge was all right in the past. Now we have science and technology, so we don't need these things anymore. However, what Lord Krishna speaks of in Bhagavad-gita is not changed by any circumstances in human society. We do have science and technology and machines. We also have still repeated birth and death. The sufferings of material life are no less now because we have technology than they were previously. And the existential facts of life, that we are eternal spirit souls, that remains the same also. Krishna explains in Bhagavad-gita that we are eternal spirit souls, that we are transmigrating from body to body because we are envious of Krishna. That is as much a fact now as it was when Bhagavad-gita was spoken by Krishna to the sun god millions of years ago. Of course, when we say Lord Krishna spoke to Vivasvan millions of years ago, even long before that it was spoken. Because this knowledge is eternal. And it is presented in human society from time to time when it becomes forgotten, as explained in the next 2 verses of this chapter. Now, Bhagavad-gita, the presentation of it may be a little different according to the time, place and circumstance. Bhagavad-gita, as we are reading it today, was spoken by Lord Krishna to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. It was spoken to Vivasvan under different circumstances. But the same essential spiritual knowledge was presented, that we are not these bodies, we are eternal spirit soul. We are eternal servants of Krishna, who is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore we should serve Him. The same knowledge was presented. Now Lord Krishna is presenting this history of Bhagavad-gita. One point we can deduce from this is the timelessness of Gita. Another thing, we can understand how important it is if it is again and again being presented in human society. In the modern age, people are always interested in something new. Now that consumer products have come to Russia, you'll find everything is advertised as new soap powder, new Coca-Cola, everything new model car, new new pop music song. But our Vedic culture is not presenting something new all the time. They have the idea that old is not very good, we should always have something new. They have the idea that old is not good, we should always have something new. And actually that's a fact. In the material world, that which is old is not very good, generally speaking. That you see, they advertise everything showing young women, not old women. If they advertise some kind of perfume with an old woman, no one will like to buy it. We find that the old women are putting on cosmetics to try to look like young women, but we never find the young women are putting on cosmetics to make themselves look like old women. But in Vedic culture, there's a different idea. Instead of trying to enjoy this material world, which is impossible anyway, we are interested in understanding the absolute truth, which is unchanging. We'll find after 2 verses, Lord Krishna says Sa evayang maya tedya yoga prokta paratanaha. I'm speaking that knowledge of yoga to you today, which is very old. He's advertising this is good because it is old, not that it is good because it is new. If in spiritual culture we find something advertised new, we are always very afraid. New idea means imagination, speculation. We have a new idea, new incarnation of God, new mantra. Maha mantra is no good anymore, bring a new mantra. We don't like these ideas. That which is old, that which is correct is good. If something is correct, there is no need to change it. Some people say we are searching after the truth. Why search? We have it right here. Bhagavad-gita as it is. Why are you making such a big show? I am searching for the truth. Why don't you find it? It's right here. But there'll always be searching. No, I'm trying this, I'm trying that. A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Mix up this philosophy with that philosophy. Change it every day. This is eclectic idiocy.
Sorry,
idiocy. The truth is as it is. Just like if we say, I'm researching what is 2 plus 2. I don't believe that 2 plus 2 equals 4. I want to make a new theory. Will he be accepted as a very intelligent person? I'm convinced that 2 plus 2 does not equal 4. We should make some new research. It's just nonsense. That's why you're laughing, because it's nonsense. So why do you have to research to find out who is God? Who is God is God. It doesn't change according to your opinion. We hear people say, well, in my opinion, God is like this or like that. You rascal, God doesn't depend upon your opinion. You depend upon His opinion. But you are saying, I think this, I think that. Well, who are you to think anything? Who cares for your 2 kopeck opinion? You're just a tiny, tiny living being. You don't know where you came from. You don't know where you're going to. You're completely in ignorance. You have a few cells in your brain which are working. And you're speculating a few big theories. I think God is like this. I think God is like that. And here God Himself is speaking. Aham sarvasya prabhavo. Here I am, I'm God, everything comes from me. But they will make research to find out who is God. And God is coming and you don't accept. When Krishna was personally present, there were so many rascals who didn't accept Him as God. So He proved to them He is God. By cutting off their head and in various ways pummeling them to dust, smashing them to pieces. Everyone thinks I am supreme. And sometimes demons, they get the opportunity to play the game of being supreme. Just like Kamsa thought, I am so powerful. I have so many good friends, like Bhakka, Putana, Agha, Shakarta, Trinavarta. They're my good friends. So between us, we will subdue all the demigods. I will make alliances with all the demoniac kings. I will make alliances with all the demoniac kings. And I will stop all Vedic sacrifices. In this way, I will control the universe. So he was thinking, I am God. Every living being is thinking, I am God. Even the cockroach is thinking, Ishvaraham aham bhogi. I am the controller, I am the enjoyer. Siddhoham balavan sukhi. I am perfect, powerful and happy. But just like to the cockroach comes death in the form of insect spray, then he has to, have you seen, they go on their back and they're crawling like this. So Kamsa met death in the form of Krishna. He was thinking, I am controlling. But all his friends, one after another, were killed by this little boy, Krishna. And eventually Krishna came to Mathura. He was called by Kamsa. And he simply wandered in the city without caring for the law and order of Kamsa. He was simply walking in the city without any care, not caring for the police command of Kamsa. The washerman came, demon. He told him, you better be careful, otherwise the king will punish you. So Krishna punished him and simply wandered in the street very happily, not caring for anything. Kamsa was simply sitting in his palace having nightmares. Then Krishna killed the elephant Kuvalayapi, and Kamsa was beginning to get afraid. And he sent big wrestlers, Chandra and Mushtika. Everyone was afraid. How can these big wrestlers fight with these little boys, Krishna and Balarama? But Krishna and Balaram very quickly finished them off. Huge guys. And here's little Krishna and Balaram, just little boys. So then more wrestlers came. Finished. Then more came. And they're also finished. And the rest all ran away. And Kamsa was sitting and started shouting, arrest them. Krishna ran up, boom, ran up to him and beat him to pieces. Dragged him in front of everybody. Just see, he's dead. Everybody was so afraid of him. They were so afraid of him, and Kamsa was enjoying that feeling, everyone is under my control. Do you know that story of Stalin? There's one story I heard. He's like a Kamsa of the modern age. That he told some story how to keep the people under control. You know this story? He brought one chicken. He brought one chicken, and he brought it live chicken, and he brought it and held it and pulled all its feathers out as it was alive. He was holding it and he pulled all the feathers out one by one. Yeah, as the chicken was alive, he was pulling out the feathers till it had no feathers left. Then he threw it on the floor, and the chicken came around his boots because the chicken was so much terrorized that he knew that my life is in the hands of this man. Stalin said, this is the way you keep people under control. So demons, they enjoy that feeling of power, but they cannot enjoy it for very long. Whereas Krishna, he is far more powerful than any demon can imagine to be. The biggest demon in history was Hiranyakashipu, and he practically controlled the whole universe. So he couldn't imagine any bigger position. But what he didn't realize was that he was only superficially in control of one universe. There are millions and billions of universes, and they all come out of the body of Mahavishnu with his breathing. So even though he had a tremendous sense of being God, of being the supreme controller, he was still just like a fly. Whereas Krishna, he controls millions of universes, but he doesn't terrorize anybody. That's actually why there are material universes, because the spiritual universes are where Krishna rules by love. People ask, why are we in this material world? Why are we suffering here? Why doesn't God deliver us? The answer is because the spiritual world is a world of love. There's no police or army in the spiritual world, because there's no scope for misbehavior. Everyone who lives there must be perfect. There's no question of fear or terrorization. Everyone who is there must be there voluntarily out of a sense of love, of wanting to serve Krishna. So if those who don't have that sense of voluntarily loving Krishna, they are not fit to remain in the spiritual world. Because that is an atmosphere of absolute trust. So much so that Krishna becomes subordinate to his devotees. So that kind of atmosphere is spoiled if even one person has a different concept. That is the special characteristic of the spiritual world. That no one is trying to enjoy themselves, they're simply trying to enhance Krishna's enjoyment. So Krishna comes to give us information of that spiritual world, where there is no nastiness, there is no badness. He comes to give us information of that. But we are so contaminated, we find it difficult to accept. When we hear that Bhagavad-gita was spoken some 100 of millions of years ago, we doubt it, because we learned at our stupid school that human history began only some 4,000 years ago. What a useless school, what a useless education system. They have no information, only going back such a short time. Because we only live for 50, 60, 70 years, they do not believe that there are beings who live for hundreds of millions of years. Their education system is so foolish. At school they teach you that we are descended from monkeys, that, what is that? Everyone's name in Russia is something like Ivan Sergeyevich, and then his father is Sergey, so then Sergey's father, then Sergey is, what? Sergey Ivanovich, and then his father Ivan is Ivan, I don't know, Alexandrovich or something like that. Like that, right? So say that. Jai Gauranitai. So according to Charles Darwin, if you go back far enough, you'll get Ivan Monkeyevich. Such nonsense. And all civilization began, 3,000 years ago? What crazy things they teach you. So this chapter is called Transcendental Knowledge. Darwin's theory, they're changing that in so many different ways. The scientific theories, they're changing in so many different ways. Because changing means they don't know. Oh, we have a new theory about evolution. Just like I read in the newspaper a few months ago, that they thought life originated 500 million years ago, and now they think now they changed it to 1 billion, just a little jump of 500 million years. They make such fantastic statements, and people are supposed to accept it as science. All of a sudden, their theory, just suddenly, all their theories changed by 500 million years. And this is called science? We don't subscribe to this rascaldom. What we are reading, that is spoken by Krishna millions of years ago. The same thing we are studying today, that was spoken by the acharyas hundreds of years ago, and thousands of years ago, and millions of years ago, and millions of years in the future, there will be people sitting and discussing Bhagavad-gita as it is. And there will be some foolish scientists also millions of years in the future. So we are not in the foolish department. We are receiving transcendental knowledge by the system of parampara. Evang parampara praptam imang rajashiyo vidu sakale hamata yogo nashta parantapa. This is the next verse after this. You can give the translation, which I presume you know. If we understand Bhagavad-gita as it is, all confusion finished. That's all. Yeah, if we understand Bhagavad-gita as it is, all problems finished. There are so many, they present science as if they know everything, but there are so many problems in science which they don't present to the public. Just like the two great scientific theories of the 20th century are relativity theory and quantum theory. So there just happens to be some small problem here, is that they don't agree with each other. So it is a great problem of science to try to bring them together. So let them have their problems. All their problems are caused because they don't accept Krishna. So we are not big scientists. We are not big intellectuals. We are not Nobel Prize winners. They never gave the Nobel Prize to here, right? They gave it to, what's his name? Solzhenitsyn, because this author, how do you know, Solzhenitsyn, he left.
Yeah.
They gave it to him because he left Russia. He spoke against the communist regime. So anyway, that's the dynamite prize. That was made by the guy who invented dynamite. That is, in the modern age, that is considered the pinnacle of intellectual achievement, to get a Nobel Prize. Just like this, Henry Kissinger, he also got it. Henry Kissinger, maybe before you were. He was the American Secretary of State in the time of Richard Nixon. This was when you were tiny baby. So he was organizing the Vietnam War. When for political reasons they decided they had to stop it, he organized the American surrender. They didn't call it a surrender. When for political reasons they had to stop it, they decided they wanted to withdraw from Vietnam, then he organized the negotiations to stop the Vietnam War. So then he got the Nobel Peace Prize. After arranging for the death of thousands of people, for political reasons they had to stop the fight, and he got the Peace Prize. This is all hypocrisy. We don't subscribe to this. We are chanting Hare Krishna. Let them have their peace prizes. Why didn't they give a peace prize to Srila Prabhupada? He did the best thing for peace. He helped people to make their minds peaceful. That's more difficult than stopping wars. What do you think? I think so too. But they wouldn't give it to him. That the dogs who are barking, they'll give the prize to them. So the Krishna conscious movement is not respected by materialistic people. We don't care. We will go on chanting Hare Krishna. And they will go on with their peace conferences, and the wars will go on. And they will have unity of religion conferences, and the religions will never be united. And we will go on chanting Hare. And we will go back to Godhead. And they will be born again and again to have peace conferences. And then go to hell. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Any question? Do we have any question about the class, first of all?
Why, if everything in the spiritual world is based on love, why do we look at the weapons? Why do we look at weapons in the spiritual world if everything there is based on love?
Why does he have the weapons? There may be symbolic weapons also. He doesn't use his disc for killing the demons in the spiritual world. Just like a king, even in his court, he may have the symbolic sword and all these things. But it's not that it's not without a use. And certainly his disc has a use. His club has a use, because there is a material world. Although he's situated in the spiritual world, he oversees the material world also. But in the spiritual, in Golok Vrindavan, there's Krishna's flute is there. He's not keeping his club and disc. Best kind of?
I don't hear.
You want to put the question in Russian? Say it in Russian. The question is that I said the best kind of ruling is by love. How should we understand if we hear if we hear statements in class such as the temple should be ruled by strictly enforced discipline? Actually, this generally shouldn't be the subject of class. Temple management is not really the subject of Bhagavad-gita. In class we should discuss the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Now, discipline has to be enforced in our temples because we're not liberated souls in the spiritual world. There's the answer. Same time, Prabhupada said that our temple shouldn't be like army barracks. One thing in the army, people all have to wear their uniforms at the appropriate times. I would like to see that enforced. That our devotees, they don't come to the temple. And those who are living in the temple, why do they come to the temple room in the dirty clothes that they use for working in? Why don't they wear their nice dhotis and saris? Stalin here, and enforce this. We'll have forcible head shaving. Men. Not for women. For men. Any other question?
Sure. When Krishna was present here, some million people were seen as very powerful personality. And how does the modern civilization can appreciate the power of Krishna?
You want to repeat the question? They will appreciate the power of Krishna when so many people give up their demoniac way of life and start chanting Hare Krishna. That they're already appreciating. Why are there people in positions of power who are trying to stop this movement? When certain people hear that many people have stopped eating meat and drinking vodka and having illicit sex and are chanting Hare Krishna, they become very disturbed. Oh, my son became vegetarian. He believes in God. Doesn't chase after girls. Terrible. I wanted him to be a real man. But they don't know that actually the devotees, they think someone who's vegetarian and they believe in God, they're very weak. But actually the devotees have the strongest character because they have the strength of mind to say no to Maya. So those who are not Krishna, those who are demoniac, they don't like this. Any more question?
Чем можно доказать, что существует реинкарнация? How to prove the existence of reincarnation? What is the proof?
We went off the subject of the class again, didn't we? Well, I guess it was kind of related. Once someone asked Prabhupada, what is the proof of the soul? Prabhupada replied, because Krishna says in Bhagavad-gita. That is the best proof. What are you going to do? Give electric shocks to dead bodies? What will you do? Give electric shocks to dead bodies? There are people who do this hypnotic regression. You know that they take people back in their past life by hypnosis, and so you can do that if you like. When the highest authority speaks, that is the best evidence. Krishna is accepted as the topmost authority on spiritual knowledge by all of those who are themselves authorities. That is the best proof. All right, any more? One question?
He stated that there are few people who see that he concentrates himself on Friday, or even if there's an attraction to him. So why they work with the people that don't attract to Krishna?
Say it in Russian.
Yep.
Because they're demons, that's why they're in this material world. But even those who are demoniac, they appreciate it. They had some appreciation also. That's why all the soldiers at Kurukshetra who died, they got liberation. Because they died in the presence of Krishna and they were appreciating his beauty. And even so many people didn't understand that he was the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but they appreciated his beauty and his great personality. Krishna traveled to so many places, from Dwaraka to Hastinapur, then he went to Kashi, Varanasi, then he went to Kundina, which is to kidnap Rukmini. So he was whenever he was traveling along the paths, the people in the towns and villages along the way would come out to give him a reception. And they were appreciating him, so they got benefit. All right, well, I'm going to stop here because now it's time for advertisement. At last, I have this Beginner's Guide to Krishna Consciousness published in Russian.
What's the name?
It's called, let me see. What is it? Vedaniya. Yeah, is it? And is that Va? Philosophy. I. Praktiku. Soznania Krishna. So it's up for sale. I know all the devotees in Suharevo, they don't have any money. But as the book distributors in Russia say, well, just have a look, see if you have a little something. I know, I used to sell books in England. It was really tough. So many times people would open their purse and show there's absolutely nothing in it. Or there was, like the equivalent of 100 rubles or something.
Sorry?
Or there was the equivalent of 100 rubles or something. Anyway, they're being sold for the very cheap price of only 5,000 rubles. So if you want it, please come and get it. Don't all rush at once.
Sorry?
Don't all rush at once. I'm not a very good bookseller, I'd say. Okay, we have Sale, Jai.